Hi, and welcome to Screenwriters Guide to E-commerce Branding. I'm Michael Jamin. So we all understand the importance of telling your story. When you tell your story, you forge an emotional connection with your customers so that they not only want to buy from you, that they want to become fans and tell others about you, because that's what people do with stories, right? They share stories. This has been going on since the beginning of time. Hey, I want to tell you what happened to me today. Oh, hey, did you see this movie today? You have a story, you're going to share it. So by telling a compelling story about you, your brand, what you do, the people who work for you, people are going to hear it and share it. That's how you grow your business. Seth Godin, the famous marketer, he says it all. Marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but the stories you tell. People do not buy goods and services. They buy relations, stories, and magic. The reason it seems that price is all your customers care about is that you haven't given them anything else to care about. I agree with all of these statements. He's absolutely right. So how do you tell a story? What exactly is a story? When you think about it, it's very hard to define. Can you define what a story is in one sentence? Hit pause and see if you can do that. You may know in your gut, oh, I think I know what a story is, but unless you can define it and put it in one concise sentence, you're not going to be able to tell a story. You might get lucky, but more often than not, you're going to miss the mark. Albert Einstein says, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. He's probably right. The guy's a genius. Let's not doubt the guy. So who am I? I'm Michael Jamin. I'm the co-owner of Twirly Girl. That's my wife's company. And I'm also a TV writer. I've been a TV writer for about 22 years. These are some of the shows I've written on. Just Shoot Me, King of the Hill. I co-ran Marin. I co-ran Buddy System, Wilfred, Beavis and Butthead, Rules of Engagement. Tons of shows. Okay. So every day my job is to tell stories. Now I help my wife grow her company Twirly Girl from a couple $100,000 in revenue a year to millions of dollars of revenue in a year. And I did it by sharing stories. That's the only thing I knew how to do. I didn't do it to Google AdWords. I'm telling you that. That's too expensive. So I did it by telling stories. And a couple of, recently I was asked to give a lecture at an e-commerce conference. There were many lectures going on simultaneously. And so I gave one, and I really figured that maybe 20 people would show up. I was surprised to see that the room was packed. It was probably 200 or 300 people. And afterwards, everyone came up to me and said, well, not everyone, but a lot of people said, I want to know more about this. Can you make like a course or something teaching me more about storytelling? Because I could see the value in what you're talking about. So I'm obviously kind of a busy guy, but I'm finally getting around to doing this. So that's what I did. And here's the beginning of that. Okay. Here's the beginning of what I taught him about. What is a story? I'm going to tell you right now, if you learn only one thing, write this down. A story, in one sentence, describes the struggle of a hero fighting an obstacle to achieve a goal. That's it. Hero, obstacle, goal. A story recounts the struggle of a hero fighting an obstacle to achieve a goal. So when you tell your story, you have to make sure you have all these three elements: hero, obstacle, goal. Here's some important tips. The bigger the obstacle, the more interesting the story. The better the goal, or the more rootable the goal, the more interesting the story. Okay, the story doesn't begin until your audience can consciously or subconsciously identify hero, obstacle, goal. So let's say you're watching a TV show or a movie and you're like, I just can't get into this. It's not your fault. It's because the writer or the director hasn't yet established the hero, obstacle, goal. Because once you are aware of those things, you're sucked in. And it's this. So, and the sooner you start the story, as soon as you identify those three things for your audience, the better. And that's basically it. That's how you start a story. And when they identify those things, you get sucked in. Okay. Let's take an example. Jack and the Beanstalk. We all know this, right? Who's the hero of Jack and the Beanstalk? Hint: his name is in the title. Jack. What does he want? What's his goal? His goal is the goose that laid the golden eggs, right? The bigger the goal, the better the goal, the more interesting the story. So it's not the goose that laid the silver eggs or the bronze eggs. It's the golden eggs. And what's the obstacle? Well, we're looking at him, right? It's the giant. Again, the bigger the obstacle, the more interesting the story. So the obstacle is not an angry dwarf. It's not a surly pigeon. It's a giant. And not only is it any giant, but he's mean. He's ferocious. He smells the blood of Englishmen and he'll grind you up into a soup. So the bigger the obstacle, the more interesting the story. The better the goal, the more interesting the story. Jack and the Beanstalk. So when you tell your story, You want to tell your version of Jack and the Beanstalk, of who you are and why you are doing what you do and what has kept you from what almost kept you from achieving your goals, or what is almost currently keeping you from achieving your goals. This is how you tell your story, and you can tell it in email marketing. You could tell it on a Facebook post, on your About Us page, on a video. And when you tell your story in a compelling fashion, people will root for you and they'll want to buy from you, and that's good. Where else can you tell your story? Where else can you use this formula for telling stories? Well, I used it even for this video. Remember from the beginning of the video, I said we all understand the importance of telling your brand story. It's a way of forging an emotional connection with your customers so that they buy from you and help tell others so you can grow your brand. Who's the hero? You're the hero. What's your goal? Your goal is to grow your brand through storytelling. What's the obstacle? You don't know how to do this. Hero, obstacle, goal. When you can use this hero, obstacle, goal in all your marketing, you're going to engage people and they're going to be interested in hearing more, which is why you are still listening to this video, because you were sucked in with this formula, right? If you'd like to know more, you can go to cardboardrocketships.com, and we have an entire course dedicated to teach you how to tell your brand story.